Alright, all of Edge of Eternities is out, so let's take a look at these cards in terms of Catfight. If you're not familiar with Catfight, it is a new Magic the Gathering format, and the way it works is each player starts with a 9 lives familiar with 8 revival counters on it, and 9 life, and your library can only have 1 mana value non-creatures in it. So what we want to do is we want to go through every single card, and we want to see what meets those requirements. So we're looking for lands and non-creatures at 1 mana value. Sometimes we get some weird wonky things that are 1 mana value that are like creatures on the backside that meet this weird exception rule. Like, check out the Discord. There's a link to the Discord and the rules document in the description, so check that out if you're interested, and I'll go over more of the details. But there are some cards that get weirdly caught up in like a Scryfall search, like Okiba Reckoner Raid. Like, it's a 1 mana saga and it flips into a creature. That's 100% legal, but if you search on Scryfall for it to be a non-creature, it won't come up. There's nothing like that in this set. There are some things with Station, but they all come up properly when you look up non-creature because they're labeled as non-creatures because they become creatures later. I guess they're kind of like vehicles in that sense. So no weird exception cards in this particular set, which is great. So let's take a look at what we got. So here we go. We got not creature, mana value 1, Edge of Eternities, Commander, and then the other big thing we want is not reprints, because we don't care about reprints. We want to see new cards. New cards to the format. So let's take a look at what we got here. We'll do the spells, and then we'll do the lands, because lands are always good. Okay, this card is super interesting. Straight out of the gate, this card is super interesting. This is the only format that this card is going to be incredibly interesting in, so this is great. This is a great one to get started with, because your creature is a 1/1. You're going to put it on your cat. Like, granted, there are other ways to get other creatures on the battlefield and in play, but for the most part, you're going to rely on your cat pretty heavily. So you put this on your cat, and then you can make another creature get smaller, or you can make your cat unblockable. There's something interesting here. I'm not sure this is great, but it's certainly interesting. That is for sure. I wish it equipped for 1. I wish it cost 1 blue and equipped for 1. It's also an artifact, which we have Relic's Roar and Behind the Mask, so anything that's an artifact is super relevant also, which we're going to see other things like that. Cryo Shatter here. This isn't great. You can deal with something pesky, like you can do something -5/-0. There is a way to get a 5/5 zombie giant. You use Quest for the Gravelord, so this isn't that unheard of. The fact that it can, when it's dealt damage, destroy it, mediocre at best. What else we got here? Okay, here's interesting. Going into the rules right from the jump here. This costs 1. It costs 1 in XX, but in the eyes of the game, this costs 1 mana. So this is completely legal in the format. This isn't great. We have other better big X spells. Volgavoth's Onslaught is ironically the better one, if we're playing X Onslaught spells. And then Doomsday Confluence is the best one. That's the black one from Doctor Who? Fallout? Warhammer? I think it creates Dalek, so it's got to be Doctor Who. So it's from Doctor Who. See, we got there. We figured it out. But this is interesting. You create X tokens that are copies of target artifact or creature you control. You might want to hit your cat, but more what you might want to hit is an equipment that auto-equips. So you hit something like what's that one? Inventor's Axe. You hit Inventor's Axe with this, so then you're giving your cat +2/+0 for each copy. That's kind of interesting. I don't love it, but it's interesting. There could be things to do with this. Embrace Oblivion. We have a million versions of this. This card we've seen a million times. This is not very good. I don't think there are very many good spacecraft that are playable. So, if it was an instant, once we get an instant version of this, then we're gonna be in for sure. Okay, well, we do have look at that. We do have a spaceship right here. This one's not super good. It's interesting. It's super interesting. But the ability to get it up to the station that you need it to be. If this was like Station 1, where you can turn this into being able to play an extra land, but that 3. When your life and your opponent's life is only 9, I don't think you want to be wasting time to be stationing your creature. That just doesn't seem like a good game plan. Station's kind of an interesting mechanic in general. In this particular format, I think it's not very good because it's going to be hard to do anything with. If it was instant speed, it would be phenomenal because your cat would come back, you station it at the end of that turn, and then you untap it on your turn. But because it's sorcery speed, I don't think you want to be taking your what's kind of your primary blocker out of commission to try to turn this thing on to be able to play an extra land. I don't like it, but it's interesting. Okay, here we go. Focus Fire. I think this one's kind of interesting. We have like Joust Through, which is kind of the same thing, because if you have a cat, this is basically the same thing as Joust Through. But if you have other creatures, this can get you above 3. The fact that this is minimum 3 is pretty good, but if you have a couple other creatures, if you're like a warrior token or a human token or like an ape or just a zombie or anything else that can get this to 4 or 5, then you can hit that the zombie giant. That's something to think about. If you're playing Joust Through, you might want to switch to Focus Fire. Joust Through gives you life gain, but the fact that this can scale up, if you have anything else that's generating like creature tokens, this might be worth like swapping in there. Full Bore, it's a pump spell. I wish it was trample. You can only get the trample if it was warped, which is super interesting. This is super interesting and limited like Edge of Eternities. This card is super interesting. In this format, it's kind of just another Infuriate, and Infuriate's not very good because if you're playing a pump spell, you want it to come with evasion. So just a straight pump spell is not super exciting, but it's not terrible, but I'm not sure you play it. Okay, this one here. The problem is you have to enchant an artifact. If you're in something super heavy with artifacts, this is kind of interesting, but it can also only get a creature. And note, rules-wise, you can't exile the opponent's cat. This is pretty mediocre. We have a better one later. This one's pretty mediocre for what it is. Honor. Now, looks pretty mild. Like, when you look at this, you're like, there's not much to this. But what this kind of is one of the best cantrips in white. The +1/+1 counter is completely relevant, and it cantrips. There are not a lot of good or even any cantrips in white. This is interesting. This is fighting with Homestead Courage. If you're playing Homestead Courage, like, this is kind of like, you might want to go to this. If you're doing something where there's +1/+1 counters matter, if you can, like, if you're proliferating, like, this is not terrible. It's the fact that you draw cards, the fact that it cantrips. Like, there's something interesting there. Also, if you're in, like, blue-white and you're playing Storm Chaser's talent, this cantrips. Like, obviously, you're going to have much better blue spells, but this cantrips and it will trigger prowess? I don't know. Something interesting going on there. Okay. This one's important because this one at first read might seem really good, but unfortunately it's not. So +3/+1, which is amazing for 1 black. This is amazing. Equip cost, whatever. 4 is terrible. It's at the beginning of your end step, if a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn, your spell or a spell was warped this turn, attach this equipment to target creature you control. Now your gut instinct might be like, oh, if my cat goes to the graveyard, it comes back. When it comes back, I can attach it. You can't. The moment in time where this needs a target, the cat is not there because it doesn't have a target, so it's going to go on the stack because the cat coming back and this going on the stack happen simultaneously. So even if you reorder your triggers, you can't make it so this attaches to the cat. If you could, this would be amazing. This would be a phenomenal card, but you can't, at least not the way, without an extra hoop. And once you add an extra hoop, this gets a little more mediocre. I still think it's good. I don't think it's amazing. Like, if you're doing other things, like Rotten Reunion is one of my favorite cards in the format. It gives you the 2/2 zombie with Decayed. This, you attack with the zombie with Decayed, and then you have this, and then this can attach to. Like, that's pretty good. There's something pretty interesting there. In, like, a black-red deck, this might be worth it because you're generating, like, tokens and treasures and, like, things are getting sacrificed. This could be super good. You just can't, like, have your cat block and then have this attached to your cat. So that's why this is less exciting than it seems to be, unfortunately. This attaches for free. Like, in a land of pump spells, this isn't terrible. It's +2/+1 and reach. I wish that reach was trample or vigilance. I wish it was anything but reach, but it's not terrible. It's 1 green and it's a pump spell. So if you're playing... If you're, like, at the bottom of the green and you're needing it, or the artifacts energy means something to you, there's something interesting there. The 5 to re-equip is awful. I wish it was 2 or 3, but that's the way they like to do some of these. Like, I feel like green hasn't gotten to the place where red is. Red has, like, comes into play, auto equips, and then you can re-equip for a decent price. green is still like trailing behind here for some reason, so it comes in auto equips, and the next equip is like super duper expensive. But +2/+1 and reach is not terrible. It's totally playable, like in my mind. This is a fight spell. This is a removal spell. There's something super interesting here. This is competing with Tail Swipe in my mind. I really like Tail Swipe. Tail Swipe is also an instant. But if you have something where it cares about the enchantments, or you care about like permanence or anything along those lines, this is kind of interesting. Or if you can like bounce your permanents, like if you're playing like blue-green and you have like repeals or Chain of Vapors or stuff like that, you can bounce this, then you can get like multiple fights out of this. That might be worth thinking about. The +0/+2 is pretty good. It's also cool the way it works with the fight, because it's gonna, you put it on the cat or put it on whatever, and then it's gonna have the higher toughness. Then when it fights, it'll most likely survive the fight. I don't know. Then the not being like it's kind of a weird, it makes it harder to block. Something interesting there for sure. Okay, this one is interesting because it's indestructible. You Relics Roar this, or you Behind the Mask this, and it is still indestructible. That's what makes this one super cool. If you're also doing things like Lethal Demolition, like things where you can like destroy or sacrifice your artifacts to get tokens or draw cards or like a million other things, this card is actually really good in the format. You need the right deck that like cares about this being an artifact, but there's a lot of decks that care about this, like this being an artifact. The Gain 3 life is also not irrelevant either. This is probably one of the most interesting cards for the format that we're getting from this set. I like this one a lot, and I've seen a lot of other people like chattering about that one. That one's pretty cool. It's a sorcery. I wish if it was an instant, it would be playable. Sorcery for 2, not worth it. Okay, modal spells. Modal spells are always good. This is a good modal spell. You can save your own creature, so you can save your own cat. I wish it was hexproof and not indestructible. The indestructible is kind of like, because there's a lot of things where you want to like your cat's about to get enchanted by like sleep magic. So if you can give it hexproof, so like if you have like green or like protection and give it hexproof or protection from a color, way better. The 2 damage though, the fact that this can do like double duty, where if you're getting attacked, you can hit something for 2. Maybe. All right, Sammy's Curiosity. Once again, if you care about artifacts, if you care about like permanence in play, this is pretty interesting. Gain 2 life. Once again, I wish this was an instant. Instants are like key in this format. If you're playing a sorcery, it's got to be a really good sorcery, or like something that plays at sorcery speed, like Rancor, like scale up. Like you need to be playing like really top tier sorceries. The Lander token is interesting if you could do something with it. I don't super love this one. Okay, here we go. Seam Rip. It's Portable Hole as an enchantment. This card is great. And this is one of the good things. The format is actually singleton. So your library is 40 cards singleton. But because we're dealing with a lot of cards that are like commons and uncommons, we get a lot of functional reprints. Like Village Rites and what's the other black one? Why? There's another black one that's exactly like Village Rites. Corrupted Conviction, there you go. Village Rites, Corrupted Conviction, and then we have the one that is the +1, that's like the one-time Skull Clamp, which is pretty much the same thing as those. So in a weird way, you get like multiples of the same thing. Culling Ritual Sacrifice, Burning, Burnt Offering. Man, my brain is not functioning. So you get cards that are technically not reprints, but are the same card doubled up. This is the same thing as Portable Hole, except this is an enchantment. This is good. Like, this is really good. This is playable. A lot of white decks are going to want to play this. This is competing with the, like, 1 mana exile target permanent that costs 1 mana, but this hits tokens. I kind of like this better than that, other than the other one is instant speed. But if not in a sideboard, a main deck, this might be the best card we're getting from this set, but if not the best, in the top 3 for sure. What do we got here? Another auto equip. It's got Flash. This is kind of interesting. If you're doing some type of like blue-white caring about artifacts, this is kind of cool. It gets first strike. Like, I don't know. There's something super interesting about it. I wish the first strike was permanent. I wish it was equipped creature to get +1/+0 and first strike. That would be better. That'd be like Hidden Footblade. Hidden Footblade might just be till end of turn also. But I don't know. It's good. It's not terrible. It's not awful. Okay, this one we're starting to get interesting. This is the playable spacecraft here. Because the station is only 2, so you can get your cat to be able to station this pretty easily, and it's worth it because up to 1 other target artifact you control. So remember that indestructible artifact we were just looking at? This is going in that deck. This is the same deck that you'd want to play this. So you would play this with your cat. If your cat has a +1/+1 counter because you did something that gave it a +1/+1 counter, or it has some type of enchantment or something that's making it a little bit bigger, you use this to then station it, and then you can turn something into a 2/2 with flying. It's the fact that it costs 2 power to get 2 power out, which makes this amazing. And then if the game goes long, if you can get this up to the Flying Vigilance, but just an endless attack of 2/2, like 2/2 flying artifacts, that's gonna be tough to like hold back, especially if you're doing things with like indestructible and pump spells and like other things. This I think is the best card from the sets in this format, in my personal opinion. At least in terms of like the spells. Some of the lands are pretty good. Universal Solvent, like when you really need to destroy something, this does it. Getting that discount's pretty much impossible because as we just saw, there's only 1 like real playable spacecraft, but that's super interesting. Another Tragic Slip. It's not an instant though. This is a good like. I don't think you would play this. The Void is interesting though. But man, I wish this wasn't a sorcery. But you attack with your creature, you attack with your cat, it gets destroyed. Like, I don't know, second main phase? This isn't terrible. Like this, the fact that this can hit just about everything is pretty good. You would actually be surprised at how difficult black like can struggle with hitting specific creatures for 1 mana. 2 mana, you get a bunch of stuff. Like, you have, like, Fatal Push, which is pretty good, but Fatal Push can't hit the cat. This can hit the cat, but it's sorcery speed. I don't know. I think Tragic Slip is probably better. Board Wipe! We got ourselves another Board Wipe. Destroy all creatures with toughness X or less. You lose X life. If X is 6 or greater, return a creature. It's not great, but if this is a good sideboard card, if you have a friend who's building a deck that's like a zombie deck that's putting out a bunch of zombies or a bunch of like squirrel tokens or something like this is pretty good because there are not a lot of board wipes in this format, and this is one of them. And most of the time, all you need to do is get things that are like 1 or 2. So paying like 1 or 2 life to get rid of everything, like get rid of like 2 2/2s or like 3 1/1s is totally worth it because they would be attacking you either like if you're not getting rid of them. So it's a sideboard card, but this one's super interesting. So I like this one. As a sideboard card, but another X spell. So there we go. So in terms of spells, we got 22 new cards. That's pretty great. And which ones did we say were like pretty playable? I deem this one interesting. Honor is interesting. 2. Focus Fire. Okay, I'll say Focus Fire. So that's 2. Melt Starter's Gear. I'll put that as playable. I think this one's playable. 4, and then Seamurph puts us at 5. Synthesizer at 6, and then sideboard card. I don't know, 7 spells. That's pretty good into the format. 7 new spells, and that's one of the things I love about this format is that it keeps evolving, but it doesn't evolve in like giant leaps. You just get a couple extra cards every set. But it's enough to make an impact where like you can start to change strategy a little bit. So you're getting more like artifacts that you can do things with. You're getting more like removal, and that's pretty fantastic. So the format is constantly evolving and constantly changing, and here's 22 new cards that are in it. Let's go check lands. Hang tight. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, the planets. I don't think any of the planets are any good in this format. I'm not sure how good these planets are in general, but in this format, they're pretty bad. It's that 12. You're never going to get to 12. Like, that's more than people's life total. So I think the planets are kind of a miss in this format. I hope everyone has fun playing them in Commander or wherever they, like, make an impact, but not very good here. It enters tapped and then you have to sacrifice thing. Meh, this is pretty mediocre. This one's interesting. It comes to play untapped. You pay 1 life to get black, and then you put a hatchling counter on this. And then when it's put into a graveyard, one of the best cards in the format is crop rotation. If you get this up to like 2 or 3 or 4, and then you crop rotation, that's pretty good. Like, obviously it's costing you life, but if you're in green, you're gaining life. There's something interesting here for sure. You kind of need to like, you won't just like play this in every black deck or play this in every black-green deck. But in the right deck, like there's enough proliferate things also. So like you can get this up to where the hatchling counters can go up without you having to like pay the life. I don't know, if you're in black-green, this might be more of a just like auto include. It's close. It's close. But any deck that's running crop rotation and black, I can see why you could just be like, I'm just gonna run this. Because why wouldn't you? Like, it's gonna cost you the life, but like, I don't know. I think that might be the best land. Another planet. This one's not very good. Guy's Kernel. It's awesome. Guy's Kernel's legal in the format, and it taps for green because you always have a cat. But that, not very good. Festering Thicket. It taps for 2 colors. I mean, if you need your last land, if you need your like last like 2-color land and you're in a 2-color deck, this is pretty good. Obviously the price has got to come down to like justify you wanting to play this. But if these get down to like 50 cents, 25 cents, totally worth playing. Like, there are better lands. There are enough 2-color lands that with a certain condition will come into play untapped that are probably worth playing over this. Like, even the Innistrad one that if you have 3 or more lands will come into play untapped, it's probably worth playing over this because you can't do too much with the land type because fetch lands are not very good because they cost you life and there are no duels and you don't want to play shock lands. But I mean, maybe you play like 1 fetch land and you play this. I don't know, not terrible. And then we got the red-white one, and then we got the red planet, and then we got the okay. The check lands. I don't. Same thing. I'm not a big fan of the check lands, but you know, if the price goes down like $6, don't pay $6 for a check land. That's preposterous. That's a preposterous price. This one's interesting because as we were talking about, like with the spells, an artifact strategy is definitely like there, and there's a handful of ways to do it. The fact that this can pump something is pretty good. I wish it wasn't only at sorcery speed. If this was at instant speed, this would be a lot better. And if it cost 1, if it was 1 in sorcery speed, this would go into a lot of decks. If this land was an artifact also, it should be an artifact land. That would be awesome. Because then, oh, I guess you couldn't tap it. Yeah, it should be 1 in tap, and this should be an artifact land. And it should be, equal to the number. That'd be insane. I'm making a whole new card now. But this is kind of interesting. The fact that it can also make a token, like, there are better ways to make tokens and cheaper ways to make tokens, but in the right deck, this is playable. Like, there's something super interesting there. Black planet, not very good. Blue planet, not very good. And then the black-green check land. So, okay. I mean, land, which is weird because a lot of times, like, we get some, like, really bonkers lands for this format, but we didn't really get that this time. So, Secluded Starforge is decent. This is probably your best one, though. What is this? How do we pronounce this? Eumidian Hatchery? I'm going with Eumidian Hatchery. This is probably the best bet because it's an untapped land, and then you can kind of get like a weird benefit of it. So, right deck, the right black-green deck, I think this is totally worth it. All right. I know we never talk about reprint on here, but I want to talk about reprint real fast. So let's take a look real fast. Criteria, because there's a couple things I want to talk about super duper fast. Is a reprint. Where's my sets? Edge of Eternities. Edge of Eternities. Commander. Come out. Where's the special guest? Do I just look up special guest? Special guest. Ah. Okay, we're gonna have to like use our brains here a little bit more. But we'll be able to identify him. Ancient Tomb, not very good in the format, so we don't care about that one. Blinkmoth Nexus, totally playable. Like, there's something totally playable about this. Artifact, it's land, super good. But there's a couple of ones I really want to talk about. Where is it? Cascading Cataracts is not very good. Contested Warzone, Creeping Tar Pit, Crystal Quarry, nope. Desert, nope. Dust Bowl, nope. Echoing Deeps, nope. Ultrasonic Temple, Endless Sands, Exotic Orchard, Gemstone Caverns. I haven't figured out how good this land is in the format. It seems really good, but I haven't seen a lot of people play with it. But there's definitely something interesting about playing with Gemstone Caverns, because everything costs 1. So it's like you're not like trying to like ramp up to something, but the fact that you can like get out the gate and like be playing, I don't know. I think some decks would definitely want to play Gemstone Caverns. I think there's, especially if you're like a super aggro deck, I think there's something to be said. Right now the problem with this card is that it's ridiculously expensive. So if it could like come down in price, I could see it getting more play, but it's hard to justify that when you have like other things that you could be wanting to play. High Market, we'd gotten a reprint of High Market previously. High Market is really good because one of the main things you need to do is be able to get your cat out of like enchantment trap. Like I call it a cat trap, but like a sleep magic where your cat is tapped and it can't untap. So one of the easiest ways to do that is to sacrifice. High Market is not a terribly expensive card. The Final Fantasy one's only $1.22. That's pretty great. So another High Market reprint is very much welcomed. Ink Moth Nexus, I don't know, like, you can win with, with poison, but I'm not sure it's so good here. Where's the one I'm really looking for? Mana Confluence, I hate it, but it's a good card. In the fight for the 3 color, like the gold land, the like 3 to 5 color deck, Mana Confluence wants to be in it, so it's this Starting Town and City of Brass, so this is probably the best one. Starting Town might be slightly better, but I'm not sure. There we go. Here's an interesting one. Meteor Crater. If you have a deck that is black and then playing a bunch of permanents that are a different color, this is really good because it'll always tap for black because you have the cat. And then if you have like Rancor or like Curse of Opulence or something like that, like if you're landing permanents pretty regularly, that's your like game plan, this could be really good. And this is not a terribly expensive card. That's an easy way to like fix your mana that's not going to cost you life or anything. So I kind of like that one a lot. What else we got here? Mutavault. Mutavault's really good. Like, you need something that's going to turn into whatchamacallit, like into a creature. That one is super good. Plots of Heroes is not anything. Power Depot. Raging Graphene. Reflecting Pool. This one's super good. This would get like a bunch of like art. I'm not totally sure why this one got so many different art. This one's super cool because a lot of times you're going to be playing, every land in your deck is going to be able to tap for both colors in some way, shape, or form. You'll have like a Hall of Oracles or something like that. And Reflecting Pool will basically always be, as long as you have 2 lands, will always be a land that can tap for every color you need. In the right mana base, this card is really good. I'm running this in a lot more decks than I had originally, like when I first started playing this format. This card, super good in the format. Don't sleep on that one. Strip Mine is legal, so much appreciated a Strip Mine reprint, because if you're against some type of land strategy, that's much appreciated. So that one's a good one. Okay, cool. And then there was a couple other cards I wanted to show you here that we got for reprints. Here, I'll just look up the specific card. We'll just make this easy instead of like dancing around it. This is the most important card they got printed, honestly. Not this art, this art, obviously. Darkness is a phenomenal card. It's black fog. It's black fog, And in this format, it is amazing because being able to like fog is phenomenal because your opponent has to commit their resources to attacking, to equipping their creature, to pumping their creature. You have the last moment where you can just hit them with darkness. This is a counter spell. It is life gain. It's everything you want it to be. If you're in white, you have multiple fogs. If you're in green, you have fog. If you're in black, you have darkness. If you're not running this in your main deck, you're running this in your sideboard because you got to look out for the Gruul deck that can kill you on turn 2. So darkness is a staple of the format. And prior to this moment, we only had the art which is no, and then with the Warhammer one, and the Warhammer one was creeping up to like $15. Like, look at this is already cheaper, and this is only going to come down. So this is the most important card from Edge of Eternities for the Catfight format. So super excited to see this one. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to get as many copies of this as I can get my hands on because, as I said, this goes in every black deck and every sideboard. If not in the main deck, the sideboard of every black deck. So, bam. This is what I wanted to point out was darkness here. So, there we go. We did it. We went through all the cards for Edge of Eternities that are legal in Catfight. And there's some great stuff there. Like, nothing is like format breaking. Like, we haven't really gotten anything that I would say is format breaking in quite some time, but that's okay. The format keeps growing and evolving and changing. And that's the way it should be. It is actually an incredibly stable format. It is an incredibly healthy format. If you are, if you made it this far into the video, I'm sure you either playing the format or you're interested in it. If you are disheartened by the unhealthiness of so many other formats, come play this. It is phenomenal. If you're having trouble finding other people to play the format, what my suggestion is build multiple decks. Build 2 or 3 or 4 decks. Check my, I'll put my Moxfield in the description also. Check there. I have a bunch of decks. I have a bunch of like precons that I built that are like $25. So all you need to do is like get like 2 decks together and then go to like your LGS or like grab your friend and then play. It's a great format because it takes like 5-10 minutes and you can play it like between rounds of draft, or like if you get knocked out of a commander game and you're looking to catch the next game, you can play this and this would be phenomenal. So the more people we can get involved, the more it's going to grow, the more the format's going to evolve, and the more exciting it's going to be because I'm always interested to see what everyone's building. As always, leave a comment. Join the Discord. You can talk to me there. You can talk to me here. Send me deck lists. Talk to me about what you're building. Everyone always has new ideas. It's very much a brewer's format. So if you like brewing, this is a good format for you. So as always, I'm excited to hear what you are playing. Also, if you haven't joined the Discord or if you haven't heard, I will be taking this format to MagicCon Atlanta. I haven't made like a big formal announcement or a big video about it. I will in the future as we get a little bit closer, but I will be bringing this format with multiple decks, at least 12, possibly up to 20 decks to Atlanta. And I'm going to play games with people. So if you have decks, bring them. There's also going to be like, I'm going to have a little something where if you build a deck and you want to play a game with me and you want to challenge me, I'm going to make it worth your while to like do that. So keep an eye out for an announcement about that. But I'm going to be in Atlanta with a bunch of decks, playing with everyone that I can, getting more and more people interested and involved in the format. And I think that's going to be a big moment and a big like stepping stone for this format to like take off to the next level. So big things are coming. Keep playing, keep talking to me. I love it. And everyone have a good day. All right.